Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Snort, snort, snort.
Hogan. Drip.
Snort, snort.
I got the drip. Go. So this person has like some mixed, harsh, constructive criticism, it looks like. Let's read it.
He's got some mixed what criticism, DSP? Did you say carish or harsh? And just for context, since this is kind of jumping into the middle of it, this is from his last suggestion box that he did just the other day. But I'm gonna run that back just one more time because I want to really try and hear what he's saying here.
Some mixed, harsh, constructive criticism, it looks like. Let's read it.
Yeah, it sounds like he's adding some sort of C or K noise onto the front of that, and I'm not quite sure why. But hey, what are you gonna do? When you drink that much gin, it's bound to affect your speech pattern somehow.
It says, as someone who used to watch all your content, the reason I stopped tuning out completely. Maybe he means I started tuning out completely, because this doesn't seem to make sense.
And as always, somebody's giving DSP a little bit of constructive criticism, and instantly he's the grammar police, and he has to pick apart every single thing that they got wrong when they typed out their message. Because, you know, people just are known for their perfect grammar on the internet, obviously. I don't know, after 15 years of being on the internet running your business and interacting with your audience, you would think that he would have the ability to understand the message even through all of the typos and incorrect grammar. In fact, we know that he's capable of doing this. Have you ever actually read the way that Jade types in chat? And this is no shade to Jade whatsoever, but "it time go" is not an exaggeration. In fact, that's one of the more comprehensible messages that he types in chat.
So let's try this again. As someone who, I'm just going to read it word for word and you figure out what it means.
Of course, classic DSP, he's just gonna do whatever and you guys have to sift through the shit and try and figure out what he's actually talking about.
As someone who used to watch all of your content, the reason I stopped tuning out completely is because of the begging. I know you don't count it as begging, but mentioning support and memberships every 5 minutes became absolutely unbearable and completely ruined the experience for me to the point it started to become cringeworthy. You're at your best when you're playing something you genuinely enjoy. Don't be afraid to go back and replay classics, personal favorites, or things that you want to play instead of the next new hype thing that just fizzles out after 2 sessions.
That message was actually really well put together aside from the one grammar mistake. And I do think that that's genuinely good feedback for the guy. But of course, instead of acknowledging that, I'm sure that he's just gonna weasel and squirm his way around the question and make it sound like he's doing everything within his power to be better than that and that you're an idiot.
First of all, I have never once in any piece of content mentioned it every 5 minutes. That's ridiculous.
Of course he takes that literally. He always takes this shit literally when someone gives him some sort of criticism. He always expects exact and specific information when it comes to anybody criticizing him. You have to be able to tell him exactly how often he is begging to the second, or you're misrepresenting the way it actually is. It just reminds me of that time that DSP was watching a Justin Wong clip. And in the clip, he says that DSP talks a lot of shit online. And he was speaking in a very general sense, obviously. But DSP was sat there on stream like, well, what is he talking about? What video is he referencing? Like, he expected Justin Wong to go back in time and start reading off the URL for a YouTube video that he was specifically talking about. And not only do I think that that's a tactic that he uses so that he can just deflect and say, then you don't know what you're talking about because you're not giving specifics, but the times that you actually can give specifics, he then can just talk about that one instance and explain away the one time that he did something, instead of trying to have to justify the things that he does all of the time. Because it's way easier to try and justify one instance, obviously. If you only have to talk about murdering one person, you can kind of justify that you had to do it for this reason or that reason, right? Not that it's ever justifiable, obviously. But the second that you have to start trying to explain why you murdered multiple people on several different occasions, large spans of time apart, then you've got a bigger problem on your hands.
But that's the thing. People tend to remember and emphasize things they don't like. That's true, right? Like, you'll be watching a movie and you'll enjoy the movie and there's 2 scenes you hate. So what do you think about after you walk out of that movie? The 2 scenes you absolutely fucking hated resonate in your head. You can't forget them, right?
No, you're wrong. I've seen plenty of movies where there was a scene that I disliked. Hell, there's been plenty of scenes that I've disliked in movies. But those aren't the parts that stick in my head the most. That just seems like a weird fixation that you have because you're overly negative all of the time and only want to talk about the things that you find displeasing. I feel like I walk out of most movies and most pieces of media thinking, yeah, that was okay. Wasn't the best or worst thing I ever experienced. And I feel like if what you were saying was true, that just wouldn't be the case. But unfortunately for DSP, there is just such an overwhelming amount amount of negativity that surrounds him and all of the negative experiences he causes everybody else to have by watching his content, that it's impossible to walk away with any other conclusion or memory in your head except for all of the negative, because it was 90% of the stream. And while it might not literally be 90% of the stream, it's the 90% of the stream that you can actually remember. And that's not just because I like to focus on the negative. That's because the rest of the stream is actually the most forgettable content on the internet. Nothing remarkable happening, nothing funny happening, nothing interesting happening. It's just a guy staring at the screen and then telling you what he's seeing half of the time. You would think that Super Blind Man was still in his chat, the way that he over-explains everything that everybody can see on screen. Oh, you guys see that? I jumped on the Goomba. Like, yeah, dude, everybody saw you jump on the Goomba. You didn't have to say that out loud.
So you may actually have a overly negative opinion on the movie, even though overall the movie was great, except for those two scenes. You just can't get it out of your head. So I understand what this person is saying. They're obviously extrapolating upon what they're trying to say. What they're trying to say is, me mentioning contributions is annoying, and doing it too much turns people off. I know this.
He knows this, but he's going to continue to do it anyway because he just doesn't care. He has no self-respect and dignity left. He's just going to continue begging because he doesn't actually see how it's morally wrong at this point. He doesn't see how taking disability money from his audience is actually a bad thing at all, as long as it's lining his pockets and he can still pull that Hogan every day.
I absolutely know this. This is not, rocket science. This is not a revelation. This is something that I've heard year after year after year.
And I know I just interrupt, but we're back here again anyway, because DSP, if you've been hearing this year after year after year, is that not raising any red flags for you? Do you not find that telling? Does that not scream to you that that's how people are viewing you on a regular occasion? If not, you're more delusional than I thought. And I've been convinced for a very long time that you basically live in your own little piggy world. But if that is raising red flags for you and you understand how people are perceiving you and you're just refusing to do nothing about it, I don't know, man, it's just despicable. But go ahead, try and justify it, DSP. Let me know what you're thinking.
First of all, to some people, even hearing once, hey, you can contribute, oh my God, right? But what's crazy to me is they say that, but then they go and they watch content creators that have paid promotion present in this video, giant segment of a paid promotion, or a podcaster who literally their entire podcast border is blinking ads. We've seen that on this very show and or other React events that I've done. There's other podcasts where it's literally the entire border is fucking ads. That doesn't bother you?
Yes, but people understand ads. They understand sponsorships. At this point, doing a sponsorship and doing an ad read for your online content creation is pretty much just akin to going to work. You go and do the thing and you have to do it. You're contractually obligated. You get your pay and then you get to do the thing that you actually want to do. And in that same vein, you also get to pick what work you do, whether you want to read the sponsorship for this company or that company. And that's entirely up to you and what you're willing to say and what you're willing to stand by. But DSP, I don't think that you're ever going to normalize the style of begging that you do. The absolutely disrespectful and honestly disgraceful way that you beg is entirely unique to you. It's just so intrusive and shameless and constant. It's part of what makes you so enigmatic, because you choose to beg where other people would go out of their way not to. And I've said this before, it's very clear to me that you enjoy the beg. You find personal joy in just extracting one more dollar from your dents, and it's honestly disgusting.
That's okay. But if the content creator says, hey guys, so how can you support me today? Well, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, please consider it. And then maybe a couple times during the stream, hey guys, so just so you know, would be great if we get some support because it's on the slower side right now. We got this, we got this. If you like the content, please support it, right?
See, but right now in your example, you're actually understating just how awful it is. You're leaving out all of the fan audits that you do, where you constantly tell your fans that you're not making enough money to justify doing this game or doing this style of content. You're leaving out the several minute section where you explain to people why tipping is so much better than super chats and why you need to get your members back up and how they keep falling back down and it's gifted memberships, 'tis the season. And this is why I say that you like to beg, because there's so many ways that you could cut it down and make it less intrusive and still get the message across. But you refuse to do that. You like to do it the way that you do. And that's very strange to me. Even when you mention that you might do it a couple more times throughout the stream every once in a while. Other content creators do that too, but they just have pop-ups that come up on the screen silently and they show a little subscribe thing or they point down and it says, links below, make sure you check them out. But DSP doesn't do that. He has to stop the game and tell you audibly so that you know. He wants you to feel bad that you're not. He wants to point down at the little bar and say, oh, guys, we haven't hit the tips goal yet. If you want to see the thing, you gotta hit the tips goal. And it's all of this on top of the fact that he's constantly got Nightbot spamming his chat so that people know that they can tip and how to. But he still feels inclined to explain all of it all of the time. And don't even get me started on all the sneak begging and subtle begging. I'm not gonna do it.
And I get it. Sometimes I mention it too much. Absolutely, 100% will agree with you. Sometimes I get pushy, and usually those are times when I'm feeling a little nervous, right? Like a week where maybe it's been 2-3 days straight where it's been slow days. So here, perfect example. This week, yesterday, I did my React show, and I did Starfield. React show did all right. We got a few gifted memberships to the channel, and almost hit the tier 1 tips goal. So it was a decent stream. Late night stream was dead. Starfield is always going to be dead. The game is dead. No one cares about this game anymore, but I need to see the end, right?
See, but it's segments like these that make your begging so much more intolerable than you let on in your example. Your audience doesn't need to know how well your streams perform. Honestly, it's none of their business. And you told your audience as such when you told them that they shouldn't be watching the numbers. You shouldn't be paying attention to the numbers on the screen that you actively update, so I don't know why they're up there, but that's besides the point. But then you go on to do segments like this where you inform everybody and tell people how well the streams are doing and which games are and aren't doing well. And regardless for how you mean these segments to come off, it's just coming off as you begging some more so that your future streams do better because they didn't do so well in the past. You say, oh, this game isn't performing well, I might drop it, so that you get future contributions to make up for it. It just comes off in a really awful way and you need to stop doing it.
So it's like, I probably would have done better, all right, not playing Starfield. If I didn't play the game and I just sat here and talked to you guys for 2 hours, I probably would have had a more profitable stream, just being honest, right?
And your audience probably would have had a better time too because they've made it very clear that they don't enjoy your Starfield streams. But you'll notice that he didn't mention that. The only thing that he mentioned was slow support, and he would have done better financially had he not done the Starfield stream. Because as always with DSP, entertaining his audience comes second. Comes second every single time to how he's doing financially.
So I knew that was going to happen, but we got to finish it. You know, I take my job seriously. This isn't Phil dicks around and makes money. This is Phil actually cares about doing a professional job. I can't rank Starfield in my year-end awards till I beat it.
And this should make it very clear that DSP just misunderstands the job that he has on the internet. And it's not really a job, I know, but you know what I'm saying. He's supposed to be entertaining his audience. That's it. That's the end goal. It's just entertain the audience, do the thing that they want, and have fun with it. And that in and of itself should be a cyclical nature. You have fun, the audience has fun, and because they have fun, they keep coming back, and then you can continue to have fun, and all of the support comes in naturally. But DSP thinks he's some sort of professional. He's not here to have fun or dick around, as he calls it. He takes himself so seriously that he can't rank a game on his worst games of the year list if he hasn't beaten it yet. Not only is that just silly, but it's a personal rankings list and there's no objectivity to it. He could just put anything wherever he wants and nobody gets a say in it regardless. And you don't have to beat a game to be able to say that you didn't enjoy it and that it was disappointing for you. If you didn't have fun playing a game, if you didn't enjoy it so much so that you weren't even willing to complete it, which says a lot for DSP, it kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? You can put it at the bottom of the list and justify it however you want, again, because it's your own list, but also you were unwilling to finish it. But DSP thinks that he's doing some sort of objective best of the year and worst of the year list. That everything that he says is going to be heralded as the truth. That these companies are going to rise and fall because DSP said that their game sucked. Like anybody actually gives a shit.
So I have to beat it first. Even if it means I have several streams where I make like nothing, I still have to do it. I have to bite the bullet.
If he feels that strongly about having to beat the game before he can put it on his list, he really just needs to play it offline. There's no reason why he can't. He needs to make the time to do it offline because if not, he's just wasting everybody else's time while doing it online. And the last thing that you should be doing is wasting your audience's time. Not just for monetary reasons, but just because it's disrespectful.
Other content creators are like, oh, the game's not good, no one likes it anymore, stop playing it forever, play something that will make me money. That's not what I'm about, all right? But yeah, admittedly, yesterday was a slow day. Now, today, I hope that things will pick up again. I mentioned it a little bit, and now we play and we see what happens. If you haven't noticed, on a day when things are going well, if contributions are coming in well and everything, you know I don't mention it? Did you ever notice that?
Are you serious right now? He really just said, have you ever noticed when you guys give me money, I don't complain about you not giving me money? How does he really think that that's a defense? That's like a drug addict telling you, have you ever noticed that I don't complain about not being on drugs while I'm doing drugs? Like, yeah, buddy, that makes sense. If people are giving you money, DSP, why would you be complaining that people aren't giving you money? You would just be a liar. What the hell is this guy talking about?
I'm not constantly mentioning it. Hey guys, even though I completely exceeded every goal I have on stream today, please keep contributing. I don't do that. I only do it when to remind people if it's a situation where things are on the slower side. And you know what? That's a necessary evil of not having tons of fucking ads on my stream. No referral codes, no blinking product placements, Dollar Shave Club and all that shit, right?
DSP will try and justify anything by just saying that it's a necessary evil. I wonder if he realizes that he's saying what he's doing is explicitly evil. And evil is a very strong word to use as well, because evil indicates some sort of maliciousness morally, or at least some sort of pain and harm comes to somebody else when you do things that are evil. Like, you might try to justify capital punishment as a necessary evil, but DSP is doing that about his begging that he is completely in control of on stream. That's absolutely insane behavior. And I know you might be saying it's not that deep, that I'm using the word evil too literally, but I think that it's applicable in this instant. I just don't think that DSP understands that, because I actually agree that it's morally wrong for him to get on stream and beg every single day given the amount of money that he actually makes in a year and the fact that he's just going to spend it all on gambling and gin anyway.
That's the result of that. Not having that crap forced down your throat means I do have to every once in a while remind everyone to please support the content. But again, this is what makes me different. And this is why I'm still here after 15 years and I'm still the same dude. I'm not someone who's completely transformed into someone that you don't recognize and you don't like. When you watch my content, you know what you're getting. Me.
No, the reason that you haven't changed is because you refuse to grow as a person. You've essentially been the same person the entire time that you've been on the internet since in your early 20s. You've always been a narcissistic, petty, self-centered, arrogant asshole every single day of your life. The reason that you're the same person is because you're incapable of being anything else. Because that's who you truly are, is an awful person just all the way around. And I'll agree with you, that is what makes you different, that you are consistently this terrible all of the time, every single day, every single year until you are just gone. It's not too often that people are actually incapable of learning from their past mistakes and growing. And DSP is just the best case study for that. It's part of what makes him so interesting to so many people.
And my true opinions and the real me. I don't answer to a sponsor. I don't have to worry about having someone drop me because I said something so bad today that I was truly, opinionated about, right? So it goes hand in hand. You can have a stream where literally I don't ever ask for a contribution. You can have that. But that means you will have constant things, advertisements around you, paid product placements, shilling constantly. So it's either way, it's a necessary evil.
And many, many people throughout the years have explained that they would rather experience the latter than your constant begging. But you constantly refuse to accept that feedback, whether because you can't or you're unwilling. Honestly, it's probably just a combination of both at this point. No companies are willing to work with you because everyone's aware that you're awful. And at the same time, you're so self-righteous and hard-headed that you probably would actually turn down several companies at this point just out of spite because you're petty. And if you don't think that that's the case, then I wonder what you think about him turning down the 5K from Mudahar or the 50K from Keemstar. He's made it very clear that he's willing to turn down a lot of money if it means that he's going to be painted in the light that he thinks that he needs to be painted in, even if he doesn't actually understand how it's going to make him look.
You understand? That's how life and business is working right now as a content creator. There used to be a time when none of that existed. Did you know that? You have to go back. If you go back all the way to 2008, I didn't make $1 doing this. 2.5 years, never advertised, right?
Lies. There was always a link that people could go to donate to you, DSP. You're just lying right now. Quit lying. And again, you don't get to sit there and act like you're superior to other people because you weren't advertising from 2008 to 2010 on your videos when you just weren't allowed to. It wasn't because you didn't want to. It wasn't because you were better than everybody else. It's because they literally didn't let you. The second that you could, you did.
Then from the years of 2011 all the way through arguably like 2015, 2016, again, it was all ad revenue that I made my living on. There was no asking for anything. So no begging, didn't exist, right?
Well, maybe there wasn't direct begging, like asking people to send money directly to his PayPal account. He still found ways to beg. I would even argue that the infamous time that he told everybody to go click on the ads is him begging essentially for more money. Please, guys, go out of your way and give me more money by clicking on the ads. That's totally a beg.
It wasn't until it became unviable to make a living like that anymore that I had to change. I had to adapt, right?
And he adapted to begging, is what he just admitted. That was his adaptation, was to beg. I'd love to see that trait in the game Spore. When you go to evolve your creature, one of the options that you can pick is just beg. It's an adaptation that they learned throughout time and history, obviously. And it would be exclusive to pigroach style species only.
So, if you don't like it, I understand. I don't like to be advertised to. I don't like to be asked for things constantly either. I'm on the same page as you. I agree with you. There are days when I do it too much or I do it in too of a pushy way. I'm trying to get better at it. I certainly hope that you feel that I have improved since a year ago when I was playing Scorn and so many people rightly roasted me on the internet for the way that I went about it during that time. And everyone's like, dude, he's crazy, like doing it like that. It sounds so ungrateful. You're right. Absolutely 100%. I watched myself back and I cringed. I said, wow, that was fucked up the way that I went about it.
So I just went back and rewatched that Salty Scorn segment that he was talking about, just to refresh myself, you know? And I'm not exaggerating when I said that the way that he was acting during that segment is just part and parcel for what DSP does regularly. So apparently he hasn't actually learned anything, even though he says that he watched the Scorn clip and even he cringed at it and understood that he was in the wrong and sounded ungrateful.
It's tricky. It's absolutely tricky. Because if I don't mention it, yes, I will end up having incredibly slow, combos of days, right?
Well, at least those combos are coming out consistently.
But if I do mention it, then everyone's pissed at me. So it's like, where's the happy medium, right? And the thing is, we need to figure that out, right? We need to figure that out. I want to do the right thing with my audience so that it's not constant asking, but at the same time, it's not, the opposite where I go out of business.
And there's that we shit again. It has to be a happy medium that we can get to. We have to figure that out. But it's not actually up to them, DSP, because anytime that anybody complains about how often you beg, you fly off the handle. And we get segments like this, just these long rants where you'd have to justify how often you beg and why you do it and why you don't take sponsorships and you don't actually walk away with any conclusion whatsoever. I can't recall a time that you ever did one of these segments and actually came up with a plan that was going to ensure that you were going to beg less, that the audience was going to get what they were asking for in less begging.
It's got to be a happy medium. It's just like with the YouTube videos too. For the longest time, everything was 10 to 15 minute videos on YouTube with ads all over them. And then people got angry at me and said, no, you should make the videos longer. Well, what's the happy medium? Is it an hour? Is it a half an hour? And I experimented with all these things over the years, and finally we settled in on hour-long videos. What's funny is to this day, some people say that's too long. You should have went back to 30 minutes again.
I'm one of those people, I agree. I think that DSP should be doing 30-minute videos again. Not because I actually enjoy or watch any of his content, but because I do actually think that it would help his content, and it definitely help increase his watch time. Which, and I'm not the first person to say this, is what determines what videos get pushed to other people on YouTube, and his watch time is absolutely abysmal.
Right? Can't win no matter what you do. But I thank you for the feedback. I appreciate you being honest and actually not being insulting, because I don't feel that this comment is insulting in any way. This is someone who actually wanted to contribute in a very constructive manner. I agree with you, and I think that we need to work on this in order to get better.
We need to work on this. Notice the we again. But he says that this suggestion wasn't insulting and it was very constructive, but it really wasn't worded all that differently than all of the other suggestions that tell him to quit begging. So I don't know what the determining factor was in all of this. Maybe DSP just got a good poll before the stream started and he was in a good mood. I don't know. That's the only thing that I can actually think of that would have made it so that this was constructive, but all of the other times people told him to slow down on the begs, those were just negative trolls, obviously.
And I thank you for your feedback. I would love for you guys to please give me that feedback. What is the happy medium? And by the way, the happy medium is not get those product placements and start shilling. No, it's not. Because I'm completely against that. You understand? I don't want to become that. The whole point of me being on the internet making content for you is not to shill a product to you I don't care about. I don't do that shit. I want to be a content creator who enjoys what he does every day and feels good about it at the end of the day, not someone who has to sell junk in order to make a living. All right, I'm not fucking Billy Mays selling a fucking Zorbies today. I'm a dude sharing my passion for games and podcasting and fun with an interactive audience. And I just so happen to be lucky enough that I make a living doing it. But we have to find a way to make it viable so it's not annoying to you as well. I agree with you. We have to figure this out. Okay?
We need to figure it out. But when you guys directly tell me that you would rather watch an ad or a sponsored segment instead of having me beg every single day, that's just not the answer, guys. Come on, you gotta do better than that. This guy just never listens, man. But that's gonna be the end of today's video. I know that we talked about begging 3 videos in a row now, and I do apologize if that seemed repetitive to you, but in all fairness, a large chunk of DSP's content is just begging regardless. And to me, this was kind of 3 begging subgenres: the actual begging, the sponsorship segment, and then the suggestion box where he talks about begging. Come on, guys, it was a necessary evil. There's nothing I could do. But of course, big shout out to Snort Hogan. I really appreciate the clip, brother. Thank you, thank you. And as always, shout out to everybody who watched the video, especially you guys who made it this far in the video. I really do appreciate it. And a special shout out to all of my members. If you want to join the Skeleton Gang, you can become a member. Of course, you get your name in the book during the intro, but you also get access to the video pretty much as soon as I'm done with it, which is usually on the day prior to when they actually release at noon. But hopefully I'll catch all of you guys in the next video. But until then, make sure that you check out other detractor channels and dive deeper into that Snortex.